Have you ever heard that a mother abandoned her child and traveled with no food or water for 4 good days? Sit back and watch as this woman does the unthinkable. Once upon a time, in the city of Kigali, Rwanda, there lived a young, beautiful teenager called Leila. Leila was a bright, rebellious 15-year-old, eager to explore the world beyond her parents' strict boundaries. Her parents were very strict. They controlled her movements, her clothing, and all other choices, as parents should. One evening, she sneaked out to a house party hosted by her best friend Elise. The party was lively and very enjoyable. They were all having fun. The music was loud, the drinks flowed freely, and the night felt like an escape from the constraints of her traditional upbringing. She was finally breathing. And in that party, she met David, a 19-year-old with charm and a sense of adventure that drew her in immediately. They clicked and they began chatting. They danced and flirted with each other all night long. Their flirtation quickly turned into something more. As the night went on, Leila found herself alone with David in an upstairs bedroom, away from the crowd. Caught up in the moment and too naive to understand the consequences, both teenagers slept together. A few weeks later, Leila started feeling nauseous, throwing up, feeling tired, and all that early pregnancy symptoms. And when she finally missed her period, panic set in. She confided in Elise, her bestie, first. "Elise, I think I'm pregnant. What am I going to do?" she said. "What? How did that happen, Leila? Does your parents know?" "Oh my goodness," Elise said. "You know you have to tell your parents, right? This is a very big deal, Leila. How did this happen?" Leila's heart raced. Telling her parents was the last thing she wanted to do. But when the home test confirmed her fears, she knew she had no choice. Pregnancy is not something you hide, right? That evening, she sat in the living room, her hands shaking as she held the positive pregnancy test. Leila summoned courage and broke the news to her parents, who weren't so well-to-do financially. That news came as a blow to them. Leila's father, usually the quieter of the parents, simply shook his head. His disappointment was very evident. "Leila, you are no longer welcomed in this house. You have made your bed, now you must lie on it. We tried holding you, we tried our best to raise you properly, and this is how you repay us. I cannot condone this," Leila's father said and stormed off. Alice, Leila's mother, who couldn't also bear the thought of the community finding out that her teenage daughter got pregnant out of wedlock. This is Africa, and is very common. The shame was too great, or would be too great. The next day, she packed Leila's things and sent her to live with her aunt in a remote village in Rwanda, far from the gossip and judgment of their neighbors. Leila's life in the village was a very difficult one. Imagine coming from a very beautiful city to a dense, remote village. Her aunt was kind but very strict, reminding her every day of the consequences of her actions. "Since you were adult enough to get pregnant, you must be adult enough to bear the responsibilities of your actions," she would always say. As the months passed, Leila grew lonelier. No friends to talk to, no party to attend, no activities of any sort that could stimulate her. They were all gone. And after 9 months, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Maya. because of the iconic Maya Angelou. She said that her daughter would become great. The baby, Maya, was born amidst this isolation, and while Leila loved her daughter, she couldn't shake the resentment she felt towards the situation that had trapped her in a life she didn't want. She looked at Maya one night and said to her, "What am I going to do with you, little one? I am equally just a child myself." She would always say this, looking at Maya with mixed feeling. Should I love her? Should I hate her? Should I just hate myself for being careless? Years passed, and when Maya was 4 years old, Leila made the decision to move back to Kigali. She needed to reclaim her life, to escape the suffocating guilt and regret that haunted her. Back in the city, she reconnected with Elise, her best friend, who welcomed her back into the fast-paced party-centric world they had left behind. "You are back, and just in time. There's a party tonight, girl. You need to come," Elise said to Leila, all excited. Leila hesitated, thinking of Maya, but the urge of her old life was too strong. She had missed the parties and the vibrant lifestyle in Kigali, and she couldn't wait to jump right in. "Just for a little while, Elise. You know I have a child now," she said to Elise. Little did she know that this "just a little while" would turn into nights of neglecting her daughter for the thrill of temporal freedom. Because Leila did not move back with her parents, she found an apartment with Elise's help. That apartment became a place where Maya was left to fend for herself, as her mother, Leila, was always out, trying to relieve the youth she felt she lost. As Leila settled back into life in Kigali, she quickly fell into old habits, reconnecting with the thrill-seeking lifestyle she had missed. The city's nightlife was a world she knew well, and it wasn't long before she found herself caught up in it again, this time with even less restraint. Leila became a regular at the city's most exclusive clubs, where she indulged in heavy drinking, smoking, and series of casual flings with men who were drawn to her beauty and reckless charm. The excitement of the nightlife became her escape, a way to forget the responsibilities that weighed on her. Leila would often leave her daughter Maya with a neighbor, Jean, or sometimes even alone in their small apartment, trusting that her 4 years old daughter could manage on her own for a few hours. But those hours would turn into nights and then into an entire weekend. The men she met were often wealthy, businessmen or travelers passing through Kigali. They were attracted to her free-spirited nature, and Leila found it easy to lose herself in these fleeting encounters. Her lovers came and went, and Leila enjoyed the attention. But as the weeks turned into months, her behavior became more reckless. She would leave Maya with whatever money she could spare, giving the child instructions on how to warm up food, or telling her to just sleep until she returns. A 4 years old child. There were times when Leila would disappear for days, traveling out of Rwanda with men she barely knew, seduced by promises of exotic vacations and endless parties. On one such occasion, she flew to Nigeria for a week-long trip with a man named Femi, a Nigerian businessman who had promised her a life of luxury. During one of their conversations, Femi said to Leila, "You are going to love Lagos, my dear. The parties there are unlike anything you've ever seen." Leila was enthralled. The trip was a blur of wide parties, upscale hotels, and extravagant gifts. She smoked, drank, and danced her way through the night, never once thinking about the daughter she had left behind. Meanwhile, back in Kigali, Maya was alone. The neighbor who usually looked after her had grown tired of Layla's irresponsible behavior and refused to take care of Maya anymore. The little girl spent those days in fear and confusion, too young to understand why her mother always left her for no good reason. When Layla finally returned, exhausted but excited, she found Maya sick and weak, having caught a fever that had gone untreated for days. A great guilt held Layla, but the promises of the lifestyle she wanted was too strong. Each time she promised herself it would be the last, but after each time she would pull right back into the same circle of neglect and indulgence, leaving Maya to suffer her choices. I'm so sorry, baby. Mama is here now. Everything is going to be okay, Layla said to Maya, who was obviously very sick. But it wasn't okay. The circle continued, with Layla's nights spent in smoky clubs and luxury hotels. It was just as if there was a spirit dragging her to these places, even when she shouldn't go. The men she met were never more than temporary distractions, and the parties only served to deepen the void she felt inside. One evening, after returning from another week-long trip, this time to South Africa with a man she barely knew, Layla found Maya unconscious on the floor of the apartment. Panic set in as she realized the extent of her neglect. She kept shouting Maya's name. Baby, please wake up. Maya, Maya, please wake up. She rushed Maya to the hospital, but it was too late. The doctors worked tirelessly, but they couldn't reverse the damage caused by the untreated infection. The doctors looked at Layla and said, this could have been prevented. She only needed medical attention few days ago. Where were you? And how did your child stay with an infection for so long? Layla was speechless, the weight of her choices crashing down on her. The parties, the men, the trips, they all seemed meaningless now. The realization that she had prioritized her own pleasures over her daughter's well-being was a bitter pill to swallow. As Maya lay in the hospital bed, connected to machines that kept her alive, Layla was consumed by guilt. She spent every waking moment by her daughter's side, praying for a miracle that she knew she didn't deserve. The once vibrant woman who had danced her night away was now a shadow of herself, tormented by the consequences of her actions. The men, the parties, the thrills of escape, none of it mattered anymore. All that mattered was Maya and the hope that somehow she would wake up. Hmm. Just as it seemed like Maya might recover, her condition took a sudden turn for the worse. The doctors rushed in, but there was nothing they could do. Maya passed away quickly, leaving Layla shattered beyond repair. Layla's world collapsed. She screamed, cried, and pleaded for her daughter to come back. But there was no miracle this time. Her parents, who were present, held her as she wept, their own grief mingling with hers. In the midst of her despair, Jean, her neighbor, whom she often left Maya with, handed Layla a small box. Inside were letters that Maya had written, letters she had never been able to give to her mother. She wrote these letters for you, Layla. She wanted you to know how much she loved you, Jean said to Layla. Layla opened the first letter, her hands trembling. Maya's childish handwriting filled the page. In one of Maya's letters, it wrote, Dear Mama, I love you so much. I know you are busy, but I wish we could spend more time together. I will be a good girl and wait for you to come home. Each letter was a dagger to Layla's heart, but they were also a lifeline, reminding her of the bond she had with Maya even in death. In the aftermath of Maya's death, Layla knew she had to change. The loss of her daughter had stripped her of everything she once knew, but it had also given her a chance to rebuild. She quit the nightlife, distanced herself from toxic friends like Elise, and began volunteering at a local orphanage. She dedicated her time to helping other children, hoping to make amends in the mistakes she had made with Maya. Leila and her mother began to heal their relationship. They began to bond. They leaned on each other, finding solace in shared grief and in the realization that they were all each other had left. Leila's mother Alice looked at her and said, "We can't change what happened, but we can honor Maya by being better, by loving more, and being more responsible." Leila nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. Do you remember David, the supposed father of Maya? He actually never knew that Leila was pregnant for him. Nobody mentioned it because everything was kept hush hush as they bundled Leila to their village in Rwanda. So, he only got to know about Maya after she had died from Elise, Leila's friend. He couldn't do anything at that point other than mourn a child he never met. His relationship with Leila was no longer about romance. They worked together to create a foundation in Maya's name, aimed at helping young mothers who found themselves in difficult situations. It was a way to keep Maya's memory alive and to ensure that no other child suffered the way she did. Leila stands by Maya's grave, a single white rose in her hand. The sun is setting, casting a warm glow over the cemetery. She placed the rose gently on the grave and whispered, "I am so sorry, my sweet child. I love you, and I promise I will make you proud." This story goes ahead to teach few lessons. Number one, as a parent, if your teen child gets pregnant, I think it is to their best interest that you still keep an eye over them. Because most times, teen moms, they don't even know their left from their right. Yes, they got pregnant, but after that encounter, if that situation is well handled, they will learn their lessons and do better. But when they are abandoned, chased away, they tend to do worse than they already did. And most times, they end up in the hands of the wrong people. Some are married off, some are abandoned, and at the end of the whole event, it never turns out well. So please, as a parent, if your child mistakenly gets pregnant out of wedlock, please still keep an eye on them. Don't abandon them. You can do like Alice did by sending them to live with a relative, but do ensure that they are well cared for, even in that relative's house, so they don't come back to become worse than they are. The second lesson is this: mind the friends you keep as a teenager. Your friends can ruin you, your friends can equally make you. When you keep friends with toxic people, people that love wayward lifestyle, you will equally want that lifestyle. The Bible said it. Show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. Guide your heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life. And how does these issues of life happen? Through hearing, through seeing. When you are constantly in the midst of the wrong people, they will pollute your heart, they will corrupt you. Evil communication corrupts good manners. Did you enjoy this story? I did. Kindly click the subscription button, turn on your post notification bell so you'll be the first to know when another amazing story is made available. Like and share to your family and your friends because this story is a must watch. Tell me what you think about Layla and Maya's story in the comment section. Now, till the next story, story lovers, enjoy your day. Bye.